Emotions are physical and mental states brought on by neurophysiological changes, variously associated with thoughts, feelings, behavioral responses, and a degree of pleasure or displeasure. There is no scientific consensus on a definition. Emotions are often intertwined with mood, temperament, personality, disposition, or creativity. An emotion is a complex reaction pattern involving a physical and mental state in response to a significant event, and it includes physiological changes, thoughts, and behavioral responses. Emotions help people deal with important situations by energizing them to react and serving as a form of communication through facial expressions and other behaviors. Examples include joy from good news or fear when facing danger. Emotion, a complex experience of consciousness, bodily sensation, and behavior that reflects the personal significance of a thing, an event, or a state of affairs. Components of emotion. Subjective experience, the feeling itself, such as happiness, anger, or sadness. Physiological response, the body's physical reaction, which involves systems like the nervous and hormonal systems. Behavioral or expressive response, the outward display of the emotion, which can include facial expressions, body language, and actions. Key characteristics. Triggered by events. Emotions are a response to something, whether it's an external event like a loud noise or an internal thought or memory. A process, an emotion is not just a feeling but a process that includes a trigger, the experience, and the response. Motivation, emotions provide energy and motivation to help people react to their environment and get their needs met. Communication, emotions are a vital form of communication with others, often expressed through facial expressions and body language. Varied intensity, the specific situations that trigger emotions and the intensity with which they are felt can differ for each person due to personal history and genetic factors. Research on emotion has increased over the past 2 decades, with many fields contributing, including psychology, medicine, history, sociology of emotions, computer science, and philosophy. The numerous attempts to explain the origin, function, and other aspects of emotions have fostered intense research on this topic. Theorizing about the evolutionary origin and possible purpose of emotion dates back to Charles Darwin. Current areas of research include the neuroscience of emotion, using tools like PET and fMRI scans to study the affective picture processes in the brain. From a mechanistic perspective, emotions can be defined as a positive or negative experience that is associated with a particular pattern of physiological activity. Emotions are complex, involving multiple different components, such as subjective experience, cognitive processes, expressive behavior, psychophysiological changes, and instrumental behavior. At one time, academics attempted to identify the emotion with one of the components, William James with a subjective experience, behaviorists with instrumental behavior, psychophysiologists with physiological changes, and so on. More recently, emotion has been said to consist of all the components. The different components of emotion are categorized somewhat differently depending on the academic discipline. In psychology and philosophy, emotion typically includes a subjective, conscious experience characterized primarily by psychophysiological expressions, biological reactions, and mental states. A similar multi-componential description of emotion is found in sociology. For example, Peggy Toitz described emotions as involving physiological components, cultural or emotional labels, anger, surprise, etc., expressive body actions, and the appraisal of situations and contexts. Cognitive processes, like reasoning and decision-making, are often regarded as separate from emotional processes, making a division between thinking and feeling. However, not all theories of emotion regard this separation as valid. Nowadays, most research into emotions in the clinical and well-being context focuses on emotion dynamics in daily life, predominantly the intensity of specific emotions and their variability, instability, inertia, and differentiation, as well as whether and how emotions augment or blunt each other over time and differences in these dynamics between people and along the lifespan. Some cross-cultural studies indicate that the categorization of emotion and classification of basic emotions such as anger and sadness are not universal, and that the boundaries and domains of these concepts are categorized differently by all cultures. However, others argue that there are some universal bases of emotions, see section 6.1. In psychiatry and psychology, an inability to express or perceive emotion is sometimes referred to as alexithymia. Human nature and the accompanying bodily sensations have always been part of the interests of thinkers and philosophers. Far more extensively, this has also been of great interest to both Western and Eastern societies. Emotional states have been associated with the divine and with the enlightenment of the human mind and body. The ever-changing actions of individuals and their mood variations have been of great importance to most of the Western philosophers, including Aristotle, Plato, Descartes, Aquinas, and Hobbes, leading them to propose extensive theories, often competing theories, that sought to explain emotion and the accompanying motivators of human action, as well as its consequences. In the Age of Enlightenment, Scottish thinker David Hume proposed a revolutionary argument that sought to explain the main motivators of human action and conduct. He proposed that actions are motivated by fears, desires, and passions. As he wrote in his book A Treatise of Human Nature, 1773, reason alone can never be a motive to any action of the will, it can never oppose passion in the direction of the will. The reason is, and ought to be, the slave of the passions, and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. With these lines, Hume attempted to explain that reason and further action would be subject to the desires and experience of the self. Later thinkers would propose that actions and emotions are deeply interrelated with social, political, historical, and cultural aspects of reality that would also come to be associated with sophisticated neurological and physiological research on the brain and other parts of the physical body. The lexical definition of emotion is a strong feeling deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationships with others. Emotions are responses to significant internal and external events. Emotions can be occurrences, example panic, or dispositions, example hostility and short-lived, example anger, or long-lived, example grief. 26 Psychotherapist Michael C. Graham describes all emotions as existing on a continuum of intensity. Thus fear might range from mild concern to terror, or shame might range from simple embarrassment to toxic shame. Emotions have been described as consisting of a coordinated set of responses, which may include verbal, physiological, behavioral, and neural mechanisms. Emotions have been categorized, with some relationships existing between emotions and some direct opposites existing. Graham differentiates emotions as functional or dysfunctional and argues all functional emotions have benefits. In some uses of the word, emotions are intense feelings that are directed at someone or something. On the other hand, emotion can be used to refer to states that are mild, as in annoyed or content, and to states that are not directed at anything, as in anxiety and depression. One line of research looks at the meaning of the word emotion in everyday language and finds that this usage is rather different from that in academic discourse. In practical terms, Joseph Ledoux has defined emotions as the result of a cognitive and conscious process which occurs in response to a body system response to a trigger. Components. According to Scherer's component process model, CPM, of emotion, there are 5 crucial elements of emotion. From the component process perspective, emotional experience requires that all of these processes become coordinated and synchronized for a short period of time, driven by appraisal processes. Although the inclusion of cognitive appraisal as one of the elements is slightly controversial, since some theorists make the assumption that emotion and cognition are separate but interacting systems, the CPM provides a sequence of events that effectively describes the coordination involved during an emotional episode. Cognitive appraisal provides an evaluation of events and objects. Bodily symptoms, the physiological component of emotional experience. Action tendencies, a motivational component for the preparation and direction of motor responses. Expression, facial and vocal expression almost always accompanies an emotional state to communicate reaction and intention of actions. Feelings, the subjective experience of emotional state once it has occurred. Emotion can be differentiated from a number of similar constructs within the field of affective neuroscience. Emotions, predispositions to a certain type of action in response to a specific stimulus, which produce a cascade of rapid and synchronized physiological and cognitive changes. Feeling, not all feelings include emotion, such as the feeling of knowing. In the context of emotion, feelings are best understood as a subjective representation of emotions, private to the individual experiencing them. Moods, enduring affective states that are considered less intense than emotions and appear to lack a contextual stimulus. Emotions are complex phenomena studied across various disciplines, including biology, psychology, and neuroscience. They are not simply amorphous feelings but are structured by neurology, evaluations, behaviors, and social contexts. Emotions involve physical, experiential, and social structures, integrating neurophysiological, behavioral, evaluative, and social elements. Experientially, emotions involve intentionality, shaped by beliefs and judgments. Socially, emotions are influenced by cultural causes, social meanings, and the effects of emotional expressions. The brain, particularly the limbic system, plays a crucial role, with different emotions showing distinct neural activity patterns. While some consider emotions innate, others emphasize cognitive construction and social learning, highlighting the interaction between genetics and experience. Emotional intelligence involves perceiving, understanding, expressing, and managing emotions, guiding thoughts and actions. Emotions play a vital role in everyday life by influencing cognitive processes such as attention, memory, and decision-making. They motivate moral behavior, stimulate creativity and curiosity, and shape perceptions. Emotions also facilitate communication, social interaction, and relationships through facial expressions and body language. Emotional intelligence, which includes self-awareness, self-control, empathy, and social skills, enables individuals to understand and manage their own emotions and respond appropriately to others. Although some emotions can be damaging, most are functional and adaptive, contributing to overall well-being and social harmony. Psychology is a scientific discipline that explores mental states, processes, and behavior in humans and animals. It encompasses a wide array of subfields, such as clinical, social, and cognitive psychology, and uses diverse research methods like questionnaires, observations, and experiments. Emotions are studied within psychology, as well as in other scientific disciplines, and are understood as complex phenomena involving neurology, behavior, and social context. Emotions significantly influence judgment and are linked to pleasure or pain. Psychological research emphasizes the connection between mental processes, behavior, and overall well-being. People experience a wide variety of emotions, which can be divided into basic categories. Emotions can be specific, like those directed toward a particular person or situation, or general, such as distress or joy. They can be brief or long-lasting, with physical accompaniments or invisible to observers. Researchers and laypeople often categorize emotions as positive or negative, though this division can be suspect due to the complexity of emotions. Examples of emotions include joy, sadness, fear, and anxiety. Emotions are essential to a healthy human existence, motivating moral behavior, stimulating creativity and curiosity, and shaping perception and memory. The body's physical response to emotions involves a complex interplay of neurological, physiological, and behavioral changes. When a threat is perceived, the sympathetic nervous system activates, triggering the release of hormones that initiate a rapid, generalized response known as the fight or flight response. This response is characterized by increased heart rate, anxiety, perspiration, tremor, and elevated blood glucose concentrations. Different emotions manifest in distinct patterns of neural activity within the brain. The limbic forebrain, including the thalamus, hypothalamus, and amygdala, plays a central role in emotional processing. The right hemisphere of the brain may be more involved in processing negative emotions, while the left hemisphere is more involved in processing positive emotions. External factors, such as temperature, oxygen supply, and nervous excitement, can also affect heartbeat and circulation. Stress triggers the release of hormones like epinephrine and norepinephrine, which increase heart rate and divert blood to the muscles, preparing the body for physical exertion. Emotional intelligence involves recognizing, understanding, and managing one's own emotions, as well as perceiving and responding to the emotions of others. It includes self-awareness, self-control, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills. Emotional intelligence is important because it facilitates thoughts and actions that consider emotions, motivating oneself and others towards long-term goals. It is central to empathy and healthy social relationships and underlies the successful use of social and communicative skills in various life experiences. People with well-developed emotional intelligence skills often become leaders. Emotions and moods are both difficult to classify, and it's not clear if they form a natural kind for generalizations. Emotions are feelings that affect judgment and are attended by pain or pleasure, such as anger, pity, and fear. They can be specific or general, brief or long-lasting, and have physical accompaniments. Moods and emotions differ in several ways. Emotions are often triggered by a specific event or stimulus, while moods are more diffuse and can last longer. Emotions are also more intense and have a shorter duration than moods. Emotions are heterogeneous, and the category of emotion may be a family of loosely related mental states and processes. Emotions significantly influence thoughts and decision-making by affecting judgment. Emotions involve behavior, thoughts, and culture, and can be rational or irrational based on the accuracy of the situation and how one evaluates it. Emotional intelligence, which includes understanding and managing emotions, plays a crucial role in decision-making. The amygdala, a part of the brain, is central to emotional learning and behavior, influencing cognitive processes like attention and memory, which in turn affect decisions. Recognizing emotional patterns through methods like keeping a trading journal can aid in managing the impact of emotions on investment choices. Emotions can be consciously developed or discouraged by training oneself to react more or less emotionally in certain circumstances. Thank you for watching this video.